Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Yu Shangrong pressed the longevity sword down. He murmured to himself, I've said that I would live in seclusion after the battle with eldest senior brother. Why must I be forced to do this? He looked in the direction his master had left and sighed softly. The remaining life energy. I can do without. You'll be buried with me when I die. Yu Shangrong raised the longevity sword and gauged the remaining life energy. The blade had a red glow, but unfortunately, it was much fainter than before. Yu Shangrong returned to the depths of the cave of reflection. He sat with his legs crossed and no longer tried to break the mantra. 3 days later. A flying chariot departed from the divine capital. It avoided places where humans dwelled. It was headed for the evil sky pavilion. On the flying chariot, Lu Yunzhao, who was standing next to the Empress Dowager, said, Empress Dowager, don't worry. I've been in contact with the evil sky pavilion's master before this. He isn't a villain who kills without rhyme or reason. Moreover, Princess Zhao Yu is his disciple. If he had been as evil as rumored, Princess Zhao Yu would never return to the evil sky pavilion so easily. The divine capital was protected by the 10-terminal formation. Cultivators who wanted to cause trouble would not simply enter the divine capital. The Empress Dowager reclined in her seat and said, I feel relieved hearing that. At this moment, Jiang Liang appeared at the flying chariot's helm. With his arms crossed, he said, Empress Dowager, a villain will always be a villain. We should still be careful. Li Yunzhao said disapprovingly, Jiang Liang, you've been with His Highness, the Crown Prince, for many years, so there's so much that you don't know. Do enlighten me, Eunuch Li. During the battle on Lotus Dais, the evil sky pavilion's Patriarch fought against malicious forces and saved many cultivators who were present. News of this has long been circulating in the cultivation world. One more thing, apart from the evil sky pavilion's first disciple, Zhenghai, the names of the other disciples have already vanished from the black roll, Lu Yunzhao said. I hope that's true. Jiang Liang nodded. I am aware of your profound cultivation base, but let me warn you, when we're at the evil sky pavilion, do not do anything rash. If you do, not even I or the Empress Dowager can save you. Li Yunzhao wanted to dissuade him from doing anything reckless. Eunuch Li, you're overthinking. My mission is only to ensure the Empress Dowager's safety, Jiang Liang replied. That would be best. At this moment, the Empress Dowager, who was reclining on her chair, spoke with an extremely tranquil tone, Jiang Liang. Jiang Liang bowed at once and said, Empress Dowager. I heard that you have a profound cultivation base. They're all compliments that I don't deserve. What do you think Eunuch Li's cultivation base is like? The Empress Dowager's tone was gentle as though there was nothing odd about her question. Well, Jiang Liang gave it some thought before answering, if we were to fight with our full strength, I won't be a match for Eunuch Li. If we were to fight with other methods, I think I stand a chance. Li Yunzhao laughed and said, Empress Dowager, you might not be informed, but bodyguard Jiang once infiltrated the Li nation in Rungbei and assassinated its monarch all on his own. That's a phenomenal achievement. Nobody whom bodyguard Jiang has marked would survive. The Empress Dowager laughed and said, in that case, you're a precious talent for Great Yen. I hope that you'll serve the imperial court well. Jiang Liang bowed and said, I give my heart to the imperial court. Eunuch Li has served me for many years, and I trust in his judgment. You should heed his advice as well, the Empress Dowager said. As you command. The flying chariot continued to fly toward the evil sky pavilion. Eunuch Li looked around himself. He walked up to Jiang Liang and he beckoned him over. Bodyguard Jiang? Jiang Liang was slightly stunned. He wondered what was the need for Eunuch Li's secrecy. He followed him. There were 2 imperial physicians on board the flying chariot. They were considered cultivators as well. There was nothing much to worry about with them looking after the Empress Dowager. They went to the other side of the flying chariot. Li Yunzhao said, I have something sincere I'd like to talk to you about, bodyguard Jiang. Let's hear it, eunuch Li. Li Yunzhao did not beat around the bush. Bodyguard Jiang, what kind of mission has the crown prince given you in the evil sky pavilion? Jiang Liang was taken aback by Li Yunzhao's candidness. He asked, why would you say that, eunuch Li? You're skilled in assassination. If the crown prince truly intends to protect the empress dowager, why does he have to send you? Jiang Lang was at a loss for words. Li Yunzhao smiled and said, do you know why His Majesty isn't worried that the empress dowager is going to the evil sky pavilion? Jiang Liang shook his head. He was also puzzled by that. The empress dowager was an important and venerated person of the empire. Yet, she was now venturing toward the dangerous evil sky pavilion. He was surprised to learn that His Majesty had approved this. It had been bugging Jiang Liang for a long time. Li Yunzhao said, that's because, the evil sky pavilion master, Ji Tiandao, is an acquaintance of the late emperor. Jiang Liang's eyes widened upon hearing this. He did not expect the great villain, who was despised by the general public, would have such a relationship with the late emperor. He asked, if they're acquaintances, why does the evil sky pavilion act like the imperial family's enemy? I was told that there were several such incidents. You're wrong, Li Yunzhao said solemnly. I'm wrong? The evil sky pavilion has never treated the imperial family as its enemy. The ones creating conflict are its first and seventh disciple, Zhenghai and Wuya, Li Yunzhao answered. Jiang Liang was confused. Eunuch Li, just be straight with me. I'm but a crude martial man. My brain isn't trained for this. Li Yunzhao nodded. It's as I said earlier. I advise you to show restraint when you're in the evil sky pavilion. If things go wrong, even His Highness, the Crown Prince, can't help you, let alone the Empress Dowager. You should weigh the pros and cons. He left with a flick of his sleeves after he finished speaking. Stunned, Jiang Liang furrowed his brows, rooted to the spot. Near dusk. The evil sky pavilion. Lu Zhou was studying the great longevity limit in the eastern pavilion. The desk before him was covered in books. The female disciples would make periodic trips to the eastern pavilion as well, carrying books in their arms. Pavilion Master, we've carried all the books related to life here. Lu Zhou did not look at them as he said, all right. At this moment, little Yuan's voice reached him from the outside. Master, the flying chariot from the divine capital is here. Fifth senior sister has gone over to greet them. Master, you're reading. Little Yuan walked into the eastern pavilion and saw books piled up on the table. Lu Zhou merely picked a few and flipped through them. He did not have the energy to go through the other books. He looked up and glanced at little Yuan. Then, he said, Yuan. Yes, master? Keep an eye on the cave of reflection. Report to me immediately if there's anything amiss, Lu Zhou said. Yes, master. Little Yuan left the eastern pavilion after receiving her mission. Lu Zhou shifted his gaze to the books before himself. He mumbled, the people of nobleman nation have short lives. Hence, they cultivated to prolong their existence. The longest living of them all is only about 500 years old. In other words, although Yu Shangrong had the longevity sword, he would only live half as long as ordinary cultivators. While Lu Zhou was deep in thoughts, Ming Shirin stopped outside the eastern pavilion, bowed, and said, the visitors from the divine capital are waiting in the great hall. All right. Lu Zhou waved his sleeve and exited the eastern pavilion. Inside the great hall, Lu Zhou swept his gaze across the people gathered there. Almost everyone was present. Li Yunzhao and the others stood in the middle. Behind Li Yunzhao, Zhao Yu and one of the imperial physicians were supporting a poised and noble old woman. Jiang Aijian's eyes were trained on the old woman. Have a seat. Lu Zhou was not being considerate of the imperial family, but of Jiang Aijian and Zhao Yu. He did not assume his seat on the throne but sat opposite the Empress Dowager. Li Yunzhao knew this was the evil sky pavilion and not the palace or anywhere else. The protocols of the palace did not apply here. The Empress Dowager was old enough to overlook these matters. When she looked at Lu Zhou, her eyebrows moved slightly. Her tired eyes seemed to have discovered something as she straightened up. She said gently, "Old mister, you resemble an old acquaintance of mine." Lu Zhou stroked his beard and remained silent. Many years ago, Ji Tiandao had met the ever-living emperor and the Empress Dowager. They were all in their prime back. Things and people had changed with the passage of time. He did not expect the Empress Dowager to recognize him. Who said she was visually impaired and senile? However, that was not important. Lu Zhou waved his hand and said, "Those who have no business here should leave." Many of the others wanted to watch the proceedings, but they had no choice but to leave the Great Hall for the time being. Li Yunzhao, the imperial physicians, and Jiang Liang did not leave. Jiang Aijian and Zhao Yu remained within the Great Hall as well. Lu Zhou looked at the Empress Dowager. Perhaps, it was due to the extraordinary power, he felt that his mental state and optical strength were much better compared to before. He could see the faint purple gas the Empress Dowager's body emitted. Indeed, it was witchcraft. It was not a life-threatening spell, but it would cause worry and unrest, making it difficult to sleep. It seemed that Ba Ma and Emily did not dare to take it out on the Empress Dowager. This was nothing but a trick of theirs. When Li Yunzhao saw Lu Zhou keeping quiet, he said, "Well, tell the old mister what the situation is." The imperial physician standing on the left shuddered. All his years in the palace, he had never encountered such a situation. How could he not be afraid of the old man before him? Nevertheless, he replied in a trembling voice, old mister, the Empress Dowager, since she returned from Obedient Villa, has trouble falling asleep." Lu Zhou raised a hand and interjected, "There's no need for an explanation. I know what's going on with the Empress Dowager." Upon hearing this, the two imperial physicians exchanged a look. They were the cream of the crop among the imperial family's healers. Although their cultivation base could be considered weak, they were quite skilled in medicine. They had been researching for years, but the evil sky pavilion did not even need an explanation? This was too much a blow to them. Li Yunzhao bowed and asked, "Old mister, do you have any remedies for this?" Lu Zhou stood up with his hands on his back and replied, "Naturally, I have a way to get rid of this ailment." Li Yunzhao bowed as soon as he heard Lu Zhou's words. "Please do whatever you can, old mister." Zhao Yu bowed. "Master." Jiang Aijian said, "Old senior." Lu Zhou said, "I have something that I must tell you, Empress Dowager." When the Empress Dowager heard this, she was slightly taken aback. She looked at Lu Zhou, who was standing with his hands on his back, with her old eyes. "Let's hear it, old mister." Lu Zhou said, "I can free you of the ailment, but your great limit is approaching. You should prepare yourself for it." The Great Hall was plunged into silence. If they were in the palace, the statement would have been considered as a serious offense that warranted immediate beheading. The two imperial physicians, however, lowered their heads simultaneously. It was impossible for them to not be aware of this. Zhao Yu and Jiang Aijian's expressions changed slightly. They looked at the Empress Dowager, reluctant to believe what they had just heard. Contrary to expectations, the Empress Dowager laughed heartily. She waved her hand and said, "That's it? This is all part of the natural cycle of life. It's natural to die one day. It's nothing." Lu Zhou turned to look at the Empress Dowager. It seemed like he had wanted to say something but changed his mind in the end. He only shook his head and said, "Forget it. I'll respect your decision." Then, he waved his arm. The two imperial physicians retreated to the side hastily. At this moment, Lu Zhou raised his palm and struck at the air. The others watched unblinkingly, their hearts were hanging by a thread. A surge of faint blue power emerged from Lu Zhou's palm. Whoosh! Meanwhile, in an unknown dark and gloomy room, Ba Ma's eyes snapped open. He frowned. The spell has been broken? A surprised expression could be seen on his face. Indeed, the imperial family can't be underestimated. Emily, oh, Emily. You spent all those years in the palace in vain. To think you weren't even aware of what the imperial family is capable of. Bama shook his head and sighed. However, you can rest assured. I'll certainly send them over to where you are. A shocked expression appeared on everyone's faces. Zhou had broken the spell from a distance. The Empress Dowager gave a muffled grunt, frowning slightly. The purplish gas was instantly dispersed by the blue energy. Zhou was not surprised at all. The heavenly writing's extraordinary power was a natural bane for witchcraft spells. He had confirmed this a long time ago. Li Yunzhao quickly supported the Empress Dowager and asked, Empress Dowager, how are you feeling? I'm all right. The Empress Dowager's eyes were closed. She was sweating slightly, and her voice sounded hollow. The two imperial physicians went over at once. They bowed before they checked the Empress Dowager's pulse and examined her. After a round of examination, one of the imperial physicians fell to his knees and said, Many congratulations, Empress Dowager. The spell has been broken. Zhou stroked his beard with an apathetic expression on his face. If I can't even break this minor spell, I should be ashamed of myself. He did not even look at Li Yunzhao as he called out, Li Yunzhao. Li Yunzhao's respect for Zhou had risen another level at this moment. He immediately responded, Yes, old mister? The Empress Dowager has just recovered from her ailment. She should rest in the southern pavilion for now and return tomorrow, Zhou said. That's great, that's great. Thank you, old mister. Li Yunzhao, who was kneeling, began to kowtow. Jiang Liang and the two imperial physicians were shocked by this display of obeisance. Although Li Yunzhao was only an attendant eunuch, he enjoyed a high status. He did not even show the crown prince such courtesy. Zhou merely glanced at Li Yunzhao and waved his hand, dismissing him. Li Yunzhao and the imperial physicians supported the Empress Dowager as they left the Great Hall. Zhao Yu made the arrangements, and they were lodged in the southern pavilion. It was almost dusk. Inside the southern pavilion, Li Yunzhao stood respectfully by the bed. He looked at the Empress Dowager, who seemed healthier now, and said, Empress Dowager, you look much better compared to this morning. The Empress Dowager leaned on the headboard and said, It's all thanks to Zhao Yu. Princess Zhao Yu has already returned to the imperial family. There's no need to blame yourself for this, Empress Dowager, Li Yunzhao said. Little Li. The Empress Dowager paused slightly before she said again, Bring me my belongings. Li Yunzhao was slightly stunned. He shook his head helplessly. He fetched a brocade box from the luggage they brought with them. He presented it to the Empress Dowager and said, Empress Dowager, these are your longevity pills, are you really going to do this? The Empress Dowager said with a sigh, There are many in this world who seek to live a long life. The evergreen, even the ever-living emperor. Yet, I think it's a form of happiness as well to live out one's life naturally. I understand. Li Yunzhao bowed. When my time comes, bury me with the ever-living emperor, hold a funeral for me, and I'll be content, the Empress Dowager said. Li Yunzhao shook his head and said nothing. The Empress Dowager passed the brocade box to Li Yunzhao and said, Give this to the old mister. This will be a token of our gratitude. All right. After you leave, call Zhao Yu over. I'd like to talk to her. All right. Li Yunzhao left the room. Inside the eastern pavilion, Li Yunzhao entered the pavilion with Mingxirin in tow. Under the decree of the Empress Dowager, I'm here to thank you, old mister. The Empress Dowager has ordered me to present this to the Evil Sky Pavilion. Kindly accept this, old mister, Li Yunzhao said. He bowed before he presented the brocade box with both hands. Mingxirin said, Master, their longevity pills.